Hello and welcome. I'm your host, author Ryan M. Oliver, and this is the Mighty Books Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Books Podcast. Today with me, featured author guest is Laura Harms. Laura, how are you doing today?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So we're here to talk about your book today. What's the title of your book?
The Aftertime.
The Aftertime. And what is the Aftertime about? A quick synopsis, if you will.
Imagine if you had a weapon, a knife,
Okay.
that had the power to heal if it was never used in anger.
Oh,
And it starts in the mid 1700s in Virginia, near Charlottesville. And it starts with a friendship between a Monacan boy and an English boy. And then it goes back to present day. So it jumps between the 1750s and present day in the same area. And it's about this knife that's handed down throughout the history of these two families that become interlinked. And it's really, the knife sort of represents a lot in our life. Like, just because you can say something doesn't necessarily mean that you should say something. It doesn't mean, just because you have the power of overpowering somebody or beating someone up, just because you have that physicality doesn't mean that you should do, ever, but should do that, use violence just because it's afforded to you. And so it's around the age of 12. And these boys are trying to navigate, which hand do you hold this knife in? Do you hold this knife in the hand of retribution?
hmm
Do you hold it in the hand of forgiveness, kind of thing?
So kind of like you use the tools you have, because I mean, a knife, like fire and knives, for instance, fire can be used for good things by warming the family up and cooking, or it can also be used for destroying the household and wreaking havoc and everything. Same with knives. It can be used as a great tool to cut things and to build stuff with, and it can also be used as an implement of weapons, war,
Right.
violence. Okay. So that's
And
kind
that's
of
how it starts. It's the Monacan boy, Corwin, gives it to his friend after they develop this friendship. So he said, I'm giving you something that's useful that you'll be able to use throughout your life. And it's just passed down throughout the generations of this family. And there's an event that happens that sort of infuses this love and friendship. So it's always asking the question of the person holding it,
Mhm.
who are you going to be? Which hand are you going to hold this potential weapon in your
Right.
hand? They could place it on somebody and they would be healed if they were
Interesting.
injured.
Interesting.
So, yeah,
So basically, you have a weapon here that could either harm or heal somebody.
right.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it too, it's kind of interesting. If in the presence of violence, a knife can be very harmful. But then when you put it in a surgical hand of someone like a surgeon, for instance,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, they cut to heal. It sounds a little strange, but
Yeah.
that makes sense. So where did this idea come from of a weapon to heal like this? That's very interesting.
Actually, it was my son. He was 6 years old and we were driving and he starts telling me, he's like, he just asked me, what if you had a weapon that could heal people? How would you use it? And I remember driving and it was so profound, the question. I just looked at him and the car starts going slower and slower and slower. And he's finally like, what's wrong? And I was just like, you have no idea what a profound statement that was for being so young. And
Yeah,
this idea sort of took off.
yeah.
I did ask him, years later, I'm like, I want to write this book. Do you want to help me with it? And he's like, no, no, Mom, that's okay. You can do it. That's fine.
He's like,
That
I
kind of
lit
thing.
the spark. You got the rest.
Exactly. Exactly. You do get the fire I've given you.
Yeah. That's
My
kind of
I'm
cool.
amused. My work is done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am your muse. You've been
Exactly.
inspired by me. Now go. Use your
Exactly.
energy and write this wonderful story. Kids are so funny that way. I mean, I feel like they'll say things you're like, that is how did
Yeah.
you get that insight for being such a young person? Like this is so it's so you meet people who are, well into their golden years, like they never say anything profound. I met a lot of people who have, but I mean, like some kids are just kind of
I,
surprising.
yeah, and I think it's just because they don't have that sort of mental stop that says, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't say this, or
Oh,
maybe I should
true.
cut this. And so it's sort of this, hey, what if
Yeah.
situation?
Yeah, we also kind of allow that because it's their innocence. So it's like we're not going to judge them on their lack of knowledge because they just don't know. They've never been exposed to certain things. And so they'll ask questions in different methods or different perspectives or different ways. You're like, that's a unique way to say that. I kind of like that. All right, cool. And it has inspired a book, which is really cool too. When did you get this published?
This past August,
This past August. Oh, so very recently.
very recently. It's been very much of a learning curve for me because I've always, well, the reason that I ended up publishing it was because I was talking with the same child. And, he's much older now, and he wanted to take a gap year and travel. And able to graduate a year early. He'd saved his money up. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. You should totally do this.
Yeah.
And he was a little apprehensive. I'm like, don't sell yourself short. And he looked at me, and we were in my little writing room, and he goes, well, what's stopping you from trying to get published?
Hmm.
And it was like, oh, you know, we do moment of my life, and it's kind of hard. And I was like, well, I write books and stuff, and I stick them on my shelf, and you guys can deal with it later after I'm dead and gone, and do what you want with it. And he's like, and so it's kind of hard when you're sitting here and you're trying to inspire somebody, and they kind of reverse logic on you, and you're like, okay, so now I kind of got to practice what I preach, or they're not gonna you know,
Yeah.
respect my vast wisdom.
Yeah, yeah. Well, kids are so, like I said, kids are so funny that way. I mean, they're really good at throwing your words back at your face in a good way and a bad
Hate
way.
that.
I do. I hate
Hate
that
it when they
so
use my
much.
logic against me.
Yeah, it's like stop being smart.
You the other thing, and I've written about this in another article, a different article that I was had done in it. I I didn't want to hand my children, when I do leave this world, do I want them to inherit a box full of my fears and my regrets and you know, is that passed down along the family china? And I didn't want my kids to ever go, well, you never did that. It's just, so you get a rejection letter. Okay, you just move on with life. It
Yeah.
doesn't, just because someone doesn't maybe get it, doesn't mean that what you have to say isn't valid and valuable.
Yeah, I think kids are so good at I always think monkey see, monkey do. Because I mean, especially with my boys are 10 and 8. And so they'll do a lot of things that we do. And they'll be, honestly, they kind of model the bravery and courage you show.
Mhm.
Sometimes they do it out of pure innocence and don't know and don't have the social stigma that we do as adults. My youngest definitely has that. He just clicks off. He doesn't care. He doesn't care yet. He'll care later, I'm sure. It's always hits around, 10, 12. They start to actually have some shame, but right now he doesn't care. If we see their parents being brave and then dealing with loss or failure in a positive way, like, well, I can do better, or I'm gonna keep trying. Like, yeah, that kind of stings, but this is just kind of how life is, and you keep going because you can't win all the time. You
Yeah.
can't at all. I mean, like, I don't know how you were with like playing, for instance, my boys love playing board games. They're not a big video game kids, but they love playing board games. So my oldest came home one day from kindergarten. His teacher was teaching him chess.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. She was like, she wanted to teach the kids chess. She loved chess. And then so he came home and he's like, Dad, I learned chess today. I'm like, you did? Well, we had a little chess board. And I'm like, do you want to do some playing? Yeah, yeah. I told him, I was like, here's the thing about playing chess with me. I'm not going to let you win. He's like, I'm not a good chess player by any means necessary, but I at least know the game. I'm like, I'm not going to let you win. He's like, well, why not? Will it mean anything if you beat me, if you beat me because I let you? Is that really doing anything? Or can you see yourself get better and then beat me one day? Okay. So of course he's, kind of hesitant. So we start playing chess, and of course I win for quite a while, about a year of us playing chess. I keep beating him, but every time we play, he gets a little bit better. He takes more of my pieces. He moves closer to the king, and then one day he freaking beat me.
That's amazing. I'm impressed.
We had some fights. Don't get me wrong. We had some arguments. He started breaking down. He would, hit the board across. He was
Yeah.
so pissed off. It's like, yeah, I know you're pissed, but I'm not giving up for you just to win. You have to work at it and keep winning. I'm not a good chess player. I'm not a good chess player. He's gotten pretty good. He's beaten other adults and family members, and just because he wanted to learn how to do better, it's like,
Well,
it's
that's great.
amazing. It's amazing. That failure, that kind of like constant failure. And if you want it bad enough, you just keep putting your kind of foot in the ring and keep going for it. I mean, did you even do that with your son?
You know what? I'll be honest. Learned very young. We all kind of learned that, Atticus is probably smarter than all of us. And I will not let him know about this podcast by any stretch of the imagination. But we were all like, yeah, because he'll throw out these little zingers, these very profound statements, and you're just like, where did you come from? Like, you know, like I just you're so far above me. I like past
Well, you have to say that, you gave him the wisdom because I mean, he came from you. So I mean,
Yeah, we're gonna go with that.
it had to come from somewhere, right? I'm just saying.
Hopefully he doesn't get my ability to get into a Zoom meeting.
We figured it out, okay?
We
We got
figure
it.
it out.
We
We are
got it.
aggressive.
Yes, we got it.
We're
I was a
all
little
disciplined.
concerned. I've had it before. We've had to cancel because technical problems. So, yeah, for those who don't know, we had a little issue
Yeah.
getting on, but we
Lauren,
figured it out. We figured it out. Whether it was her end or my end or both of us or the universe saying it's just going to start a little later, it's no big deal. It just happens with technology. It's super. It's okay. It's all good. So, in your book, though, you say you're talking about you have a Monacan. Is it Monacan?
like that. It's the
Monacan tribe? Do you reign from the Monacan tribe? Do you have
no.
friends, family? What drove you to that particular try to mention your story?
Well, in Virginia, most people have heard of Pocahontas and, you know, the Monkey tribe, which is in the eastern part on the coastal. And not a lot of people have heard of Monacan people. They actually are descended from the Sioux. They came from
Oh,
out, yeah, they have a different language, different culture, different stories, everything. And I was kind of fascinated because there wasn't a lot about them. And unfortunately, in the state, it seems like people have because the monkey and the Monacan were uneasy neighbors, They were okay, you stay on your side of the river, we'll stay on our side, because
kind of rivals.
right, because they were, on the eastern, side, it was the Algonquin that went up, and then, of course, then you have the Monacans who had all of the copper mines, and so they was sort of like, okay, we'll trade with you, but we don't really like you, kind of thing.
Okay,
And so they kind of got when the English came over, the Algonquin tribes are, oh, don't deal with the Monacan. They're bad. They're the bad Indians. And I say this in air quotes on a podcast, so just believe me when I'm doing air
yes,
quotes.
I can see her.
Uh,
She's doing it.
so they've sort of gotten this bad reputation, and I've been up to the museum. I've talked with them. I read a wonderful book by Jeffrey Hantman, Hantmen. It's called Monacan Millennium. He was a professor at UVA,
Oh, okay.
and it's more about the history. And I think it's one of a very few books written on that. But when you start looking into the history and everything that they've gone through, they're really amazing at this resilience. And then as you go a step further and look at all of the tribes on the eastern seaboard,
Hmm.
The fact they're still here
Yeah.
at over 400 years is amazing that they've been managed to, all the different tribes have managed to keep their traditions, their society, and sometimes their language.
Yeah.
I know that the Monacans had to hire a linguist because they weren't allowed to speak their language.
Yeah.
They had to whisper it in a lot of
Um,
instances. That's one of the things I brought up in the book. I was given permission to use one phrase, which basically means hello, you know, how are you? And I double checked, I'm like, are you sure? Because I didn't think it was right for me. Even if I had access, I didn't really feel like I didn't feel comfortable using a lot of their words or anything like that,
sure.
just for the simple fact that for so long, it had been tried, the people had tried to erase it, it had tried to erase all aspects of their culture, religion,
Yeah.
everything. So it was very interesting, learning more about them.
Yeah.
And my hope is that because the book is designed for middle schoolers, I hope that they reach out to the Monacans. And even if you're not in Virginia and you can't visit their museum and you
Yeah.
can't go up and visit the reservation, possibly, if teachers set up a Zoom or contacted them. And even if it's not the Monacans, just a local state tribe,
Hmm.
just to keep that conversation going and
Yeah.
try to learn someone else's history.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a fantastic thing to do as well. I mean, especially for kids, it's great to have them exposed to various cultures, especially ones local that are, been here before the Europeans showed up. And it's a great way of preserving their culture. And what's crazy is like if you dive in on the Native Americans culture in general, there is so many tribes. It's ridiculous. So when you did your research, were you able to actually do you talk to some actual native Monacans? And do they write down their language at all or stories? I know a lot of it's oral histories.
No, I just went in, I explained the book. I went to the museum and I talked to the museum director. She was very helpful. The Originally, when I had the idea for the book, what had happened ironically was when my kids were really, really little, we were at some place somewhere in Virginia, and we saw one of these metal signs, these historical markers, and it said something along, or it was something that was written. It said Monacans no longer exist. And so as I'm sort of playing around with the idea of this story, I thought, okay, maybe I'll just have this person and then have the tribe disappear and have been absorbed in the English society. And then when I started really going and researching, I was like, they do exist. They're on Bear Mountain. They all went up to Bear, like, so it was really shocking that sign was even up. And I explained that to them, and they were like, well, yeah, where was that? We need to take that down.
That's misinformation. We need to get rid of that. That's not true. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. How long is the book about? You said it's for middle schoolers. How long is the book? I guess I would say word count's probably more accurate than like page length.
Well, the yeah, page count is 167. It was over 200, and then because prices had gone up,
Mm,
they at Brandy Lane they were wonderful. In order to get the price down, they sort of stretched the book up, and then they changed the font, and the font size, so we were able to get it down so it's more in tune with other middle school pricing.
fair.
So that was really good.
So it's been out since August. So have you had much feedback since August? I know it's been only a couple months. Had much feedback from people reading it?
Yeah, I've actually I'd sent it to a friend of mine. Adults have been reading it. I have been getting some positive
Nice.
reviews online for it.
Yeah.
My friend, I sent it to her, and it was on her kitchen table. She said her 23-year-old walked by and saw it and picked it up because he liked the cover, and he read it, and I think he said, "Yeah, this is pretty cool." I no, what was it? Yeah, this is kind of cool. kind of like this. And I'm like, wow, that's a glowing endorsement from a 23-year-old.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Really,
should put that
anyone
on the
even
back of the
like,
book.
yeah, yeah.
I know, cool.
Kind of cool. 23-year-old random person, or not random, but you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is glowing reviews.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like saying a famous publisher is saying it's amazing.
yeah.
But that's hilarious. Did you put a lot of their culture, the Monacans' culture, into the book? Did you show a lot of that stuff, or was it kind of snippets of just the boy interacting with the English boy?
Pretty much it was snippets because by the time that the English that started moving into Charlottesville, a lot
Yeah.
of them had tried to move back west.
Okay.
A lot of them ended up going to Bear Mountain, the
Yeah.
place the town is fictional, of course,
Oh,
and
okay.
but it's near Charlottesville, so it kind of gives you that idea. There's a reason there's only three that are left in this area, and you find that out in the book because by then most everyone had left.
Yeah.
And there's something that has caused these three. It's Corwin, his mother, and his grandfather. And so it's interesting because Madison actually wrote to Jefferson saying, "Oh, you need to come out because they've cleared the Indians have cleared all the land, and then they just left it for us, so we can go and plant." Yeah, exactly. And so when the English came in, a lot of the land was already cleared by the Monacan people,
Hmm.
and so they were able to just move right on it,
Just move
and
in.
take over. So
Weird. Did you ever
yeah.
figure out why they did that? They just cleared it for.
Well, they cleared because they were farmers. They were, they would
Oh, okay.
farm and everything like that. And when, so they were looking, the English were like, yeah, let's go out this way.
Yeah.
All this land has been cleared for us.
Hmm.
And because by the time they started moving in, there were battles and disease, a lot of
Yeah.
the diseases as well.
Hmm. A lot of disease. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know the settlers took a lot of, they learned lessons from the Native Americans, how they manage the soil, manage the earth. So if they can see, okay, well, they survived via hunting or farming or whatever methodology, they're going to probably mirror that to some degree. I mean, was it kind of a with the English and Monacan, did you show like a bridge between two worlds in a way with the two boys or
Just the two boys because
just the two boys?
the one eventually it changes with the family, but the English boy Nathan, his father had been fighting in the Battle of the Wilderness,
Hmm.
and so he in French and Indian Wars, he had was very very terrified of any native tribes,
Oh
and
yeah.
so Nathan has to keep it from his father
Yeah.
that there is even anyone there, that
Sure.
there's people there. And so that's sort of one of the processes that Nathan has to go through. It's like this internal thing that he has
Struggle,
to
yeah.
have, like, because his father, there's a scene where his father, he's basically suffering from PTSD from these battles that he's been in. And, we think of it as a modern diagnosis, but, if you're in battles and people are dying,
Yeah.
it's going to affect you no matter what age you're from.
Oh yeah, it's pretty traumatic.
Yeah. And
And I
then,
mean, oh sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
oh no, and I was just going to say, and then, so, you have Nathan and Corwin from the 1700s who are, they're trying to survive. And then you
Yeah.
have their descendants in modern times who not quite wanting to grow up.
Yeah.
Like there's this very big difference in what, at the same age, what they're having to go through and what their big
Interesting.
problems are.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So I didn't focus on the 1700s, but I forgot
Yeah.
that's a dual timeline. So it's modern, like 2024 time.
Well, it's actually probably about 5 years ago, but
Okay.
because of the
Close enough.
pandemic,
Yeah.
I just put present day because I still wanted the reader to feel very connected with the
That makes
character.
sense. And so with the modern day, do you still have two boys or you do? Okay, cool, 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 cool. And it's you said the older boy or the boys in 1700s are more mature, and then the modern day not so much.
Well, it's mainly Zach, who is the descendant of Nathan. I like to say he's the baby of the family, and he likes being the baby of the family, but he doesn't want to be babied.
Mm.
But he doesn't quite, it's like walking up a step. He's frozen mid-step. He
Uh-huh.
can't make that other step to become more mature. So he's in a holding pattern. And,
Sure.
he's having to learn, especially his actions and his words,
Yeah.
have severe consequences that sort of set everything off
Yeah.
because the knife is taken
Okay. Okay.
directly because of his actions.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ah, punishment. Got it. Cause and effect, cause and effect. And that's how kids are going to learn. Back in the day,
It would be eaten by a mountain lion,
yeah,
It's like, but
yeah, consequences were a lot worse than they are today. I mean, you slip and fall here, okay, you got the hospital. You slip and fall there,
yeah,
that might be it. You're done. You're just like it's your mountain lion food, or you're something. You're gonna hang out there and for a long time before somebody rescue, if you ever do. So, I mean, maturity had to come a lot faster back then. You had to be a part of the family unit to build, to help farm, to cultivate, to create with the family so that you guys could live to the next season. Nowadays, it's not nearly, kids aren't growing up as fast as they used to, which in a way is a good thing, but it's such a strange like battle between how much do we baby, how much do we treat them as children, how much I call it letting the leash out with my kids. Like we want them to have more freedom and independence, but we want to be able to control that independence so that they don't damage themselves too much or grow up too fast. Because I've seen where that can be a problem. Kids can revert to starting not so great actions earlier in life. And maybe back then I was okay, not so good nowadays. So I mean, it's a fine balance there. But did you have to do a lot of editing with the dual timeline? Like how did you tackle the both timelines, writing both of those?
they kind of converge, and that's what the aftertime. It's the aftertime is a place of no time, and it's where this guide, this spirit guide, comes back because they're very connected to the two families and are very much trying to guide in every timeline in every generation. And it's always signified by someone will see this white golden deer. And that's how the book kind of in the present day sort of starts.
Hmm.
Zach sees this deer, and when he goes home and tells his grandfather has actually been to the well has experienced the power of the knife.
Yeah.
And so he's very concerned about like this series of events that is about to start. And it happens very quickly in the book,
Mhm.
but I've got to be careful.
Yeah, you
I
don't want to give away
don't
too
want to
much.
get, I don't want to give away too much,
That's the
but,
scary part with
and,
fiction.
and so there's this sort of, this guide that comes in when trouble is brewing
Yeah, Bruin.
for the families.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of triggered because Zach, he just can't he just can't grow up. He just can't, like I said, he still wants that
You-
baby,
yeah.
position
It-
in the house, but doesn't want to take responsibility.
well, that's a big one. Is the responsibility side is eventually we have to take responsibility. It's like when do we start doing this? When do you start? Because when not taking responsibility, you don't have a lot to stress about. Seeing people stress about responsibility is like, oh, I don't want that. I want to be a kid for as long as possible. Then you have other kids who are, I want to grow up as fast as possible. I wish you could kind of marry the two.
Exactly.
I mean, that's something that because I've seen adults who are not wanting any responsibility, and then as you get older, it just gets life gets harder and harder if you don't take responsibility for things. It just does because we're not going to take care of you like that unless there's something seriously problematic with you or you have a handicap or something like that. That's a different story. But choosing not to grow up, like we can't be Peter Pan forever.
Like when my kids were in school and they would when they hit high school, I made it very clear to them. I'm like, okay, if you have a problem with a teacher, these are the steps. You talk to the
Yeah.
teacher. If that doesn't work out, you go to your guidance counselor
Hmm.
and you talk to your guidance counselor, and then the three of you set up a meeting. And then if that still doesn't help, then you call me. I am
Hmm.
the CEO. You are going to call me when everything's about to blow up, you guys, you have to learn how to interact with people that are older, that are people that have a position of power,
Mhm.
which you would hope that teachers would have. I think a lot of parents go in and think that, a lot of, I don't think that they give their children the tools to go in and be able to interact with the teacher and
Yeah.
be able to have that conversation, because it's like learning how to talk. You have to build up, and in order, so when you leave to go to college, you've already learned how to interact
Hmm.
in that
Yeah.
social.
Well, when you get through to be a young adult or late teen, early 20s, you're going to college, you're starting to work, you're working at a job. It's not going to be, hey, mom, come help solve this problem for me. That only works for so long. You have to be able to own the issue and go try to solve it yourself. If you need help, everyone needs help right now and then. That's not a problem. But I like how you have, set the structure. Like, here's how this works. Because how you set it up really is how you do it, even in today's society. Well, in today's society with working, you don't go directly to, like you said, the CEO of a business. If you have a problem, a clerical error or a personnel error, you go to your boss or to someone, a lead, a boss, a boss's boss, depending on where that goes. And as you go up the ladder, hopefully it fixes itself in-house before it becomes this bigger issue. Because you have to involve the CEO and the mom CEO, whatever. That becomes a lot more of a bigger problem, bigger issue blowing up. But if they can solve something small, oh, that's amazing. It might be very challenging in the beginning because it's kind of like riding a bicycle for the first time. Okay, you got your training wheels on, and then after you got your balance down, take those training wheels off. Now you're going, okay, now you're hesitant going down hills. Okay, we teach you how to do everything. Yes, it's kind of a headache to start, but once they get it, they have the roadmap to success. You're pretty much you're hands off at that point. And that's what we want to do, just nurture the kids to the point where they can take care of themselves. Because as hard as it is, we want to hold on to our kids for as long as possible. But the whole point of raising them is so they can do it by themselves.
I'd actually recently heard a story of a parent that was having to check their child's college email
Oh my
because they
God.
weren't I know, getting things done. And I'm not trying to throw shade or be judgmental or anything like that. And that's not what I'm doing at all. So
Yeah,
you'd forgive me because everybody's situation is different.
sure.
But, you know, there is a point, you know, I want to travel to a tropical island,
Yeah.
and I don't want to have to be helping my kids send an email to their boss. I'm
No,
like,
no, you shouldn't
Peter.
have to. You shouldn't have to. And there's a point where you almost have to let them fall on their sword.
Yeah, exactly.
And I am so and actually failure is a good thing. Like, I mean, when you think about it, you learn more from failure than you do victory. Victory is great. It feels awesome, especially if you've been working hard and pushing yourself to get done. But usually to get to that victory, there has been failure along the way, and you build this kind of grit and resolve, and failure doesn't bug you as much. In fact, you're able to rebound a lot faster, fix a problem, go for it. I learn really good from screwing up. I mean, it's just I'm excellent at failing. And then as soon as I fail, oh, trial and error. This is how this works. This is way and it apparently is a lot healthier that way anyway, especially when people are trying to win every time. That's not how this goes. Trial and error and failing is the way we learn, and it's just natural human process. So getting to them at that age, a young age, that failing's okay. We can do it again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's foundational. It's really important, really freaking important. So with the Aftertime, I know it just came out, but are you working on? Authors always do this. They always have like 300 or 400 other ideas in the making. I know I do. Do you have anything cooking while you're, marinating at the moment?
I do have an early reader chapter book that's coming. We're in the process of trying to get the illustrator,
Oh, cool.
yeah, down pat. And I'm actually really excited about it. Deals with the first experience of change, of drastic change in a
Hmm.
child's life. It's actually from a story that I used to tell my older son.
Hmm.
He was little. So I'm excited about that. In researching the Monacans, there is a second book that we're in the process of working. I had we had thought about combining them, but then it would have been like a 400-page book. And see, yes, exactly.
Well,
Again, we're on the podcast, and there was this scrunchy face. So because
yes.
that's exactly what
Well,
I
here's the thing for middle schoolers, ew, the
exactly.
scrunchy face. For fantasy,
Yeah.
do it. You know what I mean? But middle school,
Yeah, exactly. Because the first thing they do is they go to the last page and see how many pages. At least that's how my boys were. They see how many pages, and then they look in the middle
I
to see the
still do
size
that.
font, to see the size font that they have. So we decided that we would give each, like one. There's a mountain that is very prevalent in this story, and
Mhm.
one side it's very easy to walk up, and then the other side is very rocky, and it's symbolic of the English that came in. Everything, like I said, the land was already cleared.
Yeah.
They just moved right in, and that was this story that took place on that sort of easy side of the mountain. The second one will delve into some things that happened regarding the Monacans, especially in the 30s.
Those projects are in the works. You've probably got a little while before they'll be in fruition.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the early reader chapter book, hopefully summer next year.
That's awesome.
Depending on it's really the illustrators.
The
Because
illustrations are challenging because I mean you've got to find someone you trust that you get along with, that you work well with, and then if they've got the right style you're looking for, then it's deciding on how you want the pictures, and they got to change things, and it can take a while to get everything figured out. And then I'd recommend, if you haven't thought about it already, some kind of a illustrator author contract. That way, either if they're working together or if you're just buying them outright, that might be a little easier. Definitely do your research on that form, because if you can buy them outright, the pictures might be a little expensive, but then you don't have to deal with divvying up every funds or anything later, if that's something that comes up. But there's so many different avenues to go with illustrations and illustrators.
I mean, it took me long enough for the cover, and then we had maps that were made
Oh, cool.
for like so. Yeah,
Ooh.
no, no,
Yeah.
you can't see it.
No, I can't say it because it's blurred.
But one is for present day for the town, and then
Oh
the other one is from
yeah.
1700s. So that
Oh,
way, when the reader is able to go back and kind of see where everything is
I
uh,
like that. That's awesome.
on maps.
I do too. I have maps in my office. I've got one of the US. We have like one of those picture maps where you can basically put photos of where your family's gone in those
Oh,
states.
no.
Yeah, we actually need to fill it. It's been sitting on my wall for a year and I haven't put pictures up on it. I'm looking at like Delaware, New Jersey. Those things are about the size of my fingernail, so I'm not sure how we're gonna do that one. But anyway, then we've got a whole world one. Then we made one for my fantasy book. I drew it up, and then because I am a terrible artist, my wife is at least somewhat artistically inclined. So she actually drew it up, and then we got it digitally scanned and put in to the book, which is super cool. I'm like, hell yeah, this is winning. This is winning. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. Yours looks pretty nice though. From before it went blurry on me.
I know. Yeah, that was just trying to make sure because in your head you already have this vision of
Oh yeah.
like this is where everything is, and then when it comes on the map, I'm like, oh no, no, no! Don't you remember? This store is on the corner, and they're like, no, that's why we told you to put that. It's like you remember things after
Yeah.
uh, the fact, but yeah, I don't. I think I'm just going to take a nice deep breath and just say, just the artists that there's a couple that we're looking at that I think can.
Good. How are you finding the artists? Where are you finding
For the
them?
publisher, they had
Oh, good.
a couple. They had a list that would be easy
That
to go
helps.
through. Yeah, because I had to build a spreadsheet because when you start having so many emails go back and forth, I get lost in all of it. And yeah, and so it's easy. It's on Google Docs, so the editor can just come in and type things in, and then we go back and forth. So
Tell me about it. Yeah, the communication you can get very bogged down pretty quick. Email madness. There's no way I can do it anymore. I have to.
again, going back to the Zoom, trying to push a button to start the Zoom. see where
We made it work, okay?
I keep pulling this down, man. So
It's
grabbing
the
it
button
down.
was faulty, probably. There was a wire loose somewhere. Who the hell knows? We got to figure it out. That's the point. We got to figure it out. And the more you do, I mean, the more you do, the easier it'll become, right? Isn't that how that works?
Exactly.
In theory, in theory, at least. So when it comes to the editing, how was the editing for you? Did you have to take out a lot? Did you have to do a lot with it, or was it pretty straightforward?
I had a really good editor, Jenny. I was very fortunate because she lives close enough that we were able to meet for lunch. We had this
Oh,
very long
good.
lunch. And it's funny because she just listened to me because I'm from the South and I have these, Southern expressions and so forth. And one in particular, the proofreader came back because I don't know if you say this, but around here we say cut the light on, cut the light off. Do you ever say that?
Cut the light off?
Yeah, cut the light
No. I say cut the power.
on. Okay, so
We say cut the power, but that's
I never knew that everyone in the country didn't say that. Like, go cut the car on,
no, no.
yeah, like go cut the TV off or something like that. So, but it's a
Interesting.
local thing. It's a local saying.
Really?
It's from Virginia and North Carolina. It's kind of one of our little things. And the proofreader kept trying to change it. And Jenny goes back and goes, no, that's a local, that's how they speak in this area.
That's so
So
funny.
she was able to pick this up while we were talking. And so
Huh. So okay,
it really,
so cut the power on. I want to learn now
Jenny,
because
I want to know about the saying.
I want to know they're saying now. Well, and that's cool that she backs you up. It's like, no, this is literally how she speaks
Yeah,
with her family in the local area, and this is nothing bad. That's really cool that she did that. But like, so cut the power on or cut the
yeah,
power off? Cut
yeah.
the power
Cut the
on.
TV.
Because to me, when you cut something,
I
it
think
turns it off.
makes sense. I know, but that's just hey, go cut the power. Go cut the TV on.
Oh,
You know,
weird. Okay. I
yeah.
mean, not bad weird, just interesting
Oh,
weird.
it's weird.
I love
It's
the I love the
okay.
language. I love how language is kind of formed in its own
Dialects.
little area. It's just kind of, it's just neat. The US is so friggin' huge too. It just doesn't help that, I mean, Pacific Northwest is where I'm from. So I mean, very, I don't know. I've been told I don't have an accent. I'm like, we do. It's just not as cool as other places. California, New York, South, Midwest, Texas. We have like 18 different friggin' accents, if you honest to God. But they're all, and some people have different phrases. Like my wife came from the East Coast to the West Coast, and they're like something really simple as a backpack. Okay, we call it a backpack, but they call it a book bag.
Yeah.
Got teased because it was called a book bag. My grandmother was from North Dakota. She called it a book bag. She came to Washington with her husband, and they were like, "That's a backpack. It's not a book bag." I'm like, "Who the hell cares? We all know what you're talking about, so who cares?" People are weird, but it's just interesting to me. I always thought that was different phrases from different places in the same country. It's just cool to
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah.
anyway, anything else you want to say about your editor, though? I think I cut you off.
No, no, she's just absolutely, really wonderful, and she's helping me with the next book, and so it's I think now she's kind of got that sort of she understands,
Your
the
rhythm.
way my yeah, exactly, the way my brain is working, and she's like,
That's
I
good.
kind of know what you're trying to say, but you're not hitting the mark. Let's push the rewind on this. But
There's
no,
always
between
that.
that and that was very positive, and then the PR firm that I gotten has been absolutely wonderful.
Good.
PR by the book because I never did. I've never done Facebook. I've never done any. I am, fear of social media.
Mm.
OSMA.
It-
Okay.
it's
Like,
a valid fear. I'm not a fan of it myself, but I use it because I promote other people and I both
right.
promote stuff. So I kind of have to use it
Yeah.
in this day and age.
But they've been so non-judgmental.
Oh, good.
OSMA. They're just like,
Fear of social
okay.
media. I'm using it's
Yeah.
FOSM. FOSM.
Yeah. Social. Yeah.
So
OSMA.
FOSM. All right, FOSM. We'll make some t-shirts up. FOSM. Fear of social media. I like it. Just don't use it. I mean, go out and play. Go out and play.
Oh, you were telling me not to use the. The
No, no,
post.
don't use social media. Use the term. Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Try to get off social media and go play outside. Like that's just I liked what I like.
Yeah.
Getting together and
Like, when I on pub day, everybody was like, "Oh, are you gonna have a party?" I'm like, no, like because to me, writing has always been very one-on-one.
yeah.
You personally, you're writing for your reader,
Hmm.
and I likened it to being at a campfire and you have someone sitting across from you,
Hmm.
and you're telling them a story.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to the library that day just because
Cool.
I wanted to be around the books. Everybody's quiet. Everybody's from different backgrounds, social backgrounds, religions, political points,
Yeah.
everything, but everybody's sitting quietly in one room,
Yeah.
just reading, and
Very comfortable.
it's a very peaceful place. So
It is. It
that's
is.
where I spent Club Day.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, hey, Laura, how can we people get copies of The Aftertime and get to know all about you and your stuff? Where can they find you
My favorite.
with your fear of social media?
Amazon, Brandy Lane, that's the publisher. I have a website, LLH Harms, Facebook, LLH Harms, Instagram,
Mm,
I-
LA Charms.
and I think we now have TikToks.
Oh
I
my.
say we, but that would be Kimberly. I just more like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. I don't
We
know what it is, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I have
impressed with anyone that can do this. You guys that are able, like, I just, my hat's off to you.
I mean, the podcast is about the most I'm involved with it. It's other than that, the TikTok, I'm not even doing TikToks. I don't do that. So probably hurting the overall reach, but I have no zero interest in the TikTok. TikToks are what clock sounds make. I mean, I'm not about to I sound old when I do that, but I'm like, I don't care. I just just can't do it. I do all word of mouth, the old style. I think it's more reliable anyway. Anyway, but ah, Laura,
Well,
this has been great.
this has been exciting.
I'm I'm glad. I'm glad. Yes, it has. First, we couldn't get on, and it took us 15 minutes, but then we did it. Now we're talking, so it's great. But thank you so much for coming on. And honestly, when you get more books out, your other projects you want to keep marketing, let me know, and we can set this up again.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Welcome. Well, guys, please go check out Laura's stuff. LLH Harms, The Aftertime, her debut novel, and she's on the precipice of knocking out a couple more, which is just great in the coming years, which is amazing. So go get some wonderful literature, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, guys. And as always, stay mighty and keep reading.